So now that we're talking about general topics in management, I just wanted to point out the idea that you guys are born with the idea that you have the internet, you have cell phones, you should be able to have laptops and computers almost anytime. Some of you may have challenges to get that, but it is accessible and it's almost taken for granted. The idea of universities, you are going to universities, some of you are spending more than 4 years at a university. The universities have been designed and created, and most of the professors that are at the universities have been trained in a time when they didn't have cell phones. They were trained in a time where they didn't have email access or the ability to travel. And so they definitely didn't, they weren't born in a time where they had the social media. So I wanted to talk about that big difference. And since the universities are created with a 4-year system, 3 or 4 year system for you to get a degree, and then usually you're designed to go and graduate and then get a job, the new system generally is allowing you freedom to do things differently. I believe it was Arthur and Adrian that was doing a research, and was it Julie also? You are doing a research project talking about how social media can create new projects. Is that right? Was it Julie and Adrian and Arthur? Were you guys the one that were working together on your research project talking about how social media can create new businesses?
Yeah, that was us.
And that was the three of you, right? Julie and Arthur and Adrian, you guys.
Yeah.
So you guys have identified a very important thing, and this whole topic is talking about that. You can now create a whole new business instantly. You don't need a university degree. Elon Musk doesn't have the university degree. Bill Gates doesn't. Most of the successful people in the world generally don't. I'm not promoting that now. You still need a good base in order to be commonly accepted, unless you're exceptional. But the idea of being able to go in and start recording yourself through TikTok or the several different channels that can make somebody a millionaire now in 6 hours was impossible when your professors went to school. It was impossible when universities were created. It was impossible when the system that you are living in was designed and the classes were created. So that is just one aspect that we're talking about. Go back through for, if you wanted more information about how to write it, there's 2 papers. This link here, How to Write Papers and Grants, provides more information. And if you want lots more information, this Research and Grants provides 90 pages of more details. You probably don't need to get this much information, but the idea of make sure your abstract teaches something new is pretty clear in here. Is that clear, Arthur?
Yeah, that was clear. But what I just said that it was just about the stylish thing and all of this, not at all for the abstract introduction and everything like that. I already saw this.
Okay, I don't understand. What was your hand up for then?
Okay, so let me just share something on the chat that
Okay.
you put a commentary on. Do you see it? Original instructions state to the replicate of an existing Scopus journal article. This is not how a typical Scopus article abstract is designed. I just talk about design.
This, what you're saying here, this is the typical Scopus paper. This, what I'm showing you here, this is how almost every Scopus article is designed. They start with an abstract, which has something that is teaching something new, and it's not general. Your abstract is quite general. The Scopus articles are very specific. That's what I'm talking about. And every Scopus abstract is teaching something new. That's what I'm talking about. This is the Scopus design. If
Okay.
you actually find a Scopus article like what we show here, if you find something like this and actually find an article, that's best, but you don't need to do it. It makes it a lot easier if you do. Your life is much, much easier if you do. And one of the ways it's easier is when you walk up to a company. Let's say you want to work for McKinsey Consulting. I don't know what company you want to work for in the future, but if you want to be a consultant, McKinsey is a very famous consulting company. If you walk up to them and just show your paper from scratch, which is brand new, you just say, I did this and it's based off of your format. But if you identify this is a published article, it's a Scopus article, you can walk up to McKinsey and tell them you have a world famous research report that you have customized specifically to be of interest to McKinsey, and it's hard for them to deny you a meeting by simply saying you have a world famous research report. And then you can show this, and it is published, and anything in Scopus is world famous, and it's cutting edge, like this, Fortune. This morning, when we were talking about the idea of pay, I showed you something that's very popular, Fortune magazine and Forbes magazine. Those are similar to Harvard Business Review. They're very, very, very popular. Many, many people know about them. They have very attractive, interesting, sexy stories, but none of these will show references at the end. And so these, because they don't show references at the end, where is it here? Because they don't show references at the end, all of these that do show references at the end have more reliability. They can be checked. If you don't show where you get your references from, you can't check the facts. So that's why they're a little bit less reliable than any of these. And all of these are Scopus, and even better than Scopus is the Web of Science, or SSCI. So if you, my purpose, maybe I'm talking too long. I'll try to shut up and I'll try to be short. My point is, find who is the best, or what is the best style, replicate that best style, and then make it better. That's what I'm trying to say to you, Arthur and Yanak and Malik, all of you. Is that clear? Anybody want to try to argue? You have a better way? I am open to modify this, but I just wanted to make sure why we do things, why in our class we're doing things a certain way. Do you guys understand? How about I make it a little bit more challenging? Jacobir, how are you doing today? Jacobir, can you hear me? Maybe not. Laura, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Is it very clear to you why Harvard Business Review is a little bit less reliable than the Academy of Management? Is that clear to you?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, can you tell me why CNN or BBC is valuable?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You are frozen.
I'm frozen. Oh, that's not good.
Do you see me?
Yes, I can see you and hear you. Everything's okay with my internet. Maybe it's your internet going slow. I'm too ugly.
Yes,
I'm
I
breaking camera. So my question to you is, what is the value of CNN compared to Harvard Business Review? Or the idea, what is the value of CNN? Why is that maybe better than the Academy of Management? Anybody in class, if your video is
I
not?
would say it's maybe better because they maybe have a bigger team, and because it's very famous, they have to be very sure of the information they are giving to person.
Good guess, but no, a big team doesn't mean a smart team. um, the value of Scopus is that they have the team of all scientists or professors in the world to check what is written and make sure it's true. And so anything that you check, anything that you write and you give to Scopus, you have 30,000 different journals and thousands of professors or scientists that are working with each of those journals. You can give the new paper to those thousands and thousands of scientists and professors just to check, to make sure it's true and make sure that there's nothing wrong. They're editing for truth. And the WOS or SSCI Web of Science is more specific, even higher level professors. So that is even better or more exclusive than Scopus. But all of these people are definitely experts in their whatever they're researching. But CNN, that one journalist could be doing research about a car crash today and talking about a delicious apple tree tomorrow and talking about Elon Musk's rocket ship the day after tomorrow. Does that make sense? That's the way CNN is working. So they have many people, but none of them are experts. Does that make sense? Zarnigar, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so why would I say you should have both? Although in my class, in our class, I only say you need usually 10 of the Scopus, which should be relatively easy to find in our university. I've simplified it, cut it down to 7, but I've made this chart so that you should know that CNN does have value, and sometimes it's more valuable than the Academy of Management. Why could CNN be more valuable than the Academy of Management journal?
Is it because of their Scopus articles are, let's say, based on the research?
So why is that bad? Why is CNN good? Why is CNN better than these? All of these things here have a problem, and CNN is better. What makes CNN better?
Yeah, I think their research, they do research on their Scopus articles, and I guess they also do blind reading on the articles. Like they use the blind readers to check their articles, and they say if it's true or not. It also gives a lot of plus.
All of these Scopus or Web of Science, these articles are researched, yes, and they're created by scientists. And yes, after it is written, your article is submitted to the journal, and the senior manager of the journal will delete your name and delete your university, so it is blind, and they will give it to other scientists to check. So yes, all of these are blind reviewed, correct. But my question is, why is CNN better? CNN does not have the blind reviewers. Anybody, can you guess what is the value? Why is these things at the bottom better? In some aspects, not for everything, but just for in some view.
It must be the historical, the all things CNN say must be true, because with the historic, they wrong nothing. So maybe no.
Related to historic, good. These journals, they started in the 1600s. So these are older than CNN. Good guess. Any other guesses? You don't have to do it for my class, but I hope you understand the lesson that we're teaching. The idea here is these are the most reliable, but to make them most reliable, you have to check not only the facts, just the same as CNN people do, but you also have to have education to do it, which should be the same as CNN. So that's basically the same. The writing should be the same, but after it's finished, then you have to have somebody else checking it, and that somebody else checking it, sending it to some other expert that CNN cannot do. Sometimes those experts, for example, in some research, there's only 5 people in the world that know about that Web of Science or Scopus topic. It's such a specific topic, talking about mathematics or physics or engineering or even management, that there's only a few number of people in the world that understand it. And so sometimes there's a lineup to get it, and it takes a long time for them to check it. But CNN, number one, they don't have those experts check it. They can have anybody just check it for spelling and make sure it's interesting, not whether it's true or not. So all of these things at the top take a long time to make. Sometimes it could take 2, 3, 5, 7 years after you research and write it to publish it, versus CNN can make a story and print the story tonight in one day. So these could be old versus CNN could be brand new. And so that's the idea. These are new things that people are saying versus these things are more reliable. But does that make sense, Zarnigar?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about that. We've gone through several different things. I wanted to make sure that you're aware of, again, how you can use your paper to contact just by surveying a company might be able, and showing these research articles to the company will make you look good. Making you look good might give you the opportunity for an internship or a job. It has happened many, many times before. For example, the students that wrote this paper, they got an internship, and then after the internship, they got a job for that company that they researched. So that same type of thing could happen with you. You don't need to just wait in line and graduate. I think, Laura, you were saying you were looking for some way to get in touch or get a job with a finance company. Using a class report is the best way. Looking for an internship, they're advertising, looking for a job, they're advertising, is the hardest way to get a job. It's better if you do it this way. And if you make your plan so that your idea of how to get your dream goals, and you start thinking about who are the people that are important that can help you, who's going to introduce you, how you meet them, you can use this paper. That idea, who do you know that can connect you to a higher level, you can use your class report to just interview them. And of course, the alumni, especially here in Asia, especially in Korea, anybody that has graduated from Keimyung University is now working for that industry, and especially that company. They generally have to take care of you and introduce you. So these are ways that can help you get forward and get those jobs. And what is the lesson that I was talking about here? Why do we have these step 5 with money bags? Kanakdo, are you still available to talk, or are you busy in the other class? Maybe he's busy in the other class. What about Malik? Can you comment about step 5? What is this idea of the money?
Sorry, I can hear you. Yes, about 5.
Step one is to create a paper for class. Step two is make the paper about a local company you want to work with. Step three is try to publish your paper. And any of you that are trying to write your paper, I will help you publish your paper. And then afterwards, you can put it in your CV. That's step 4. But step 5 is to work with a grant and bags of money. What are we talking about there? What is step 5? What does it mean, the grants?
About the references.
Everyone has to do referencing well. That's a good idea, but can anybody comment on grants? What are grants?
Yeah, it's basically millionaire companies that usually invest on students to their business ideas. So you're gonna write your business plan or your research paper, and based on how you write it, you're gonna get grant. It's a amount of money.
Why would you get money, and where does the money come from?
It comes from like big people, billionaires that has a lot of money. They invest on students or the new starters for their business ideas.
Close.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yes, that's.
I was close.
Yes, you're right. So the idea here is what we were talking about. All of these companies around the world. Some of these companies in 2021 are $2.5 trillion companies. They make so much money that a lot of people hate them. And in order to manage the people that hate you, a lot of these companies have systemized it, made it a normal part of their marketing project so that they give money back to look good, to make it look like they care. They will give money back to other people, make it look like they're helping poor people. They can't give it to other companies to make competitors. They give it usually to help education. If they make $2.1 trillion and give $1 million back to universities, people are going to think, wow, this company is really, really nice. They basically made a whole new university. So it's not that greedy. It's not really bad. Apple's a good company. They created Apple University. That's why they did it. That type of idea. Is that sort of clear? Any questions or comments about that? So these companies, they make so much, they give some back. And the idea of the CEOs make so much. Sometimes the CEO, as Zarnagar was saying, the CEO sometimes personally will give money back. And they don't give it to competitors. They don't give it to people that will embarrass them. They usually give it to schools, to students and professors for research projects. And this is an example similar to Tesla, but Ford and GM, the Ford company, for many years, they only asked for 400 words, 100 words to describe your organization. And they want to know that you're not going to embarrass them. 100 words, who is going to work on this? Make sure that you are reliable. Make sure that you're well qualified. Make sure that you're not going to embarrass them. 100 words, what are you going to do with your research project? Again, make them look good in front of CNN. And the last one, 100 words, why does the world care? Again, why will they look good giving you money? And then just how much money you want. And this is now old. The new version is just looking for 2,000 characters, even less than this. So that's the idea. And almost what this is showing, anywhere from 3Com to 3M to American Airlines, American Express, almost every company in North America, almost every major global company, from Blockbuster, Chrysler, Citi Foundation, eBay, FedEx, Ford Motor Co., Merrill Lynch, Microsoft, almost every company has a foundation department inside their marketing department that gives money away for these projects. And you can contact them like this. And most of them are usually giving away not small amounts, but actually quite big amounts. here is another example. These students didn't copy my Ford grant. They found a Alfred Sloan Foundation grant that gives money away for students. And these students asked for $16,000. Usually the grants are much, much larger than that, $100,000 to $1,000,000 for grants. Again, because some of these are giving away $50 million or billions of dollars each year. That's what we were trying to teach. And then the idea of, again, in week one, we were talking about no matter what you're interested in, if you start learning about it and continue to learn about it and develop your specialization towards your dream goal, as long as you put in the time for that, 10,000 hours will get you successful. So is it Vincent, you wanted to make a restaurant? Fahim Malik, you wanted to make a marketing company. If you're working for some other company, you would be spending usually 30, 40 hours per week. And the normal person still has twice as much time left over to do something. So you could put 3 times as much money into developing something if you wanted to become successful. And we talked about in week 2, how most companies that start, as long as you have a plan, like this type of plan, as long as you have a written plan like this, what was the report that we were talking about this morning? More than 80% of those companies that have a plan are successful more than 5 years. So that's one of the things that we're talking about. Now, even with Gen Z, you should start, in my opinion, you should start developing some sort of TikTok career or YouTube career to develop yourself and make your contacts no matter what, and try to make your own company, because that's usually financially the best for you. However, it's good experience to work for Samsung or some other company and get the experience working for them before you want to start your own company. But keep that in your plan. So that's one of the things that we were talking about with this. Any questions so far? There are many similarities between the millennials and Gen Zs. The general idea is they're living online and they're able to instantly connect with many, many people. Although we all know that, and some of you have presented about this, I don't think many of you are actually doing it yet. I don't think many of you are, where is it here? This idea of investing 72 hours extra to make yourself successful, and the idea of investing 10,000 hours. I don't think many of you are doing that yet, even though we have proof. Bill Gates invested more than 10,000 hours even before he got to university. That's one of the reasons he quit university, because he already had 10,000 hours of study and training and practice that he knew more than his professors did. And so he's continued to develop his project. The Beatles, the same thing. Even Mozart, the same thing. Before he got to the 10,000 hours, although people say he was born a genius, there is proof that his first songs were shitty. So you definitely need a lot of practice. I would encourage you guys to get a lot of practice to do these things. Any questions about that so far? How many followers does who has the most followers in our class?
I got over 2,000 followers.
So Zarnigar has 2,000. Vincent, what about you? Last time I asked you, I think you said you only had 5 followers on Facebook or YouTube.
I can show you if you want. I'm gonna search just for you.
Okay, great. How many?
So on Facebook, I have like 483. And
483 million, 483,000,
483 point
400. Okay, so you realize that, who was it? Was it Zarnigar? Were you the one that just finished saying you had thousands?
Yeah, I got over 2,000 followers on my Instagram and over 1,000 followers on my Facebook, I guess.
Okay.
And you, how many followers do you get on your social network?
Thank you.
We want
Great.
to know. You ask, we want to know.
I'm not sure. What was your question, Vincent?
How many followers you get on your social network?
How many followers do I have? I actually stopped my network for several years, and I just started again when I joined Kemyoung. When I was in business, I had a lot. I was very, very active. I didn't use Instagram when I was in business, but I was very active with Facebook and I was very active with Twitter. And I had thousands, many, many thousands. I'm not sure how many I had, but when I retired from business, I stopped them. When I went to Vietnam, and when I went to Kenya and Nepal, I basically gave up on them. I tried to get away from the big business. Let's make sure that that's clear to you. If you want to grow a business, you need many, period. No questions about it. If you want to relax and get away from people, sometimes it's stressful, you can close it down. And you know, people have done it. So I have done that. But when I came back to Kemyoung, I have had to start this again. I'm not trying to grow it, and I'm not trying to get new students or new followers for teaching, but I am making all of my students, they're required to be active in this. Not to promote me. I don't think you guys think I'm trying to promote myself, but I am trying to make sure you guys are active in it. Does that make sense, Vincent? Or do you think I'm bullshitting you?
No, I'm agree.
Okay. Malik, you want to get into marketing. So with marketing nowadays, the most popular people that you are working with, many people are talking about Gen Z and the millennials. Are you targeting them? Or who is a different target that you could, who is some of the only other alternative target that you could target in any business? Malik, can you identify who is the other possible target other than Gen Z, other than millennials?
I don't have much idea, but I think the new things.
The old people like me. So generally there's the millennials and Gen Z, they're the young people. And then the old people like me, the baby boomers, something like that, these old people, they're generally the alternative. And so if you're looking for people to buy new products or take new trends, then you have to be active with these millennials and Gen Z, which are almost all plugged in. Everyone except
Yes,
Vincent.
I will. Yes, I will target then the young people.
Why would somebody target the older people though?
I think they already grown up, but new generation is coming.
Why would you care in business if you want to grow your business? You don't care if somebody's old.
Yes, I think we should think all those think about all those people. But I think the new generations, if I am doing something, then I think the new something new in this generation for this generation, then I think I should involve those people who will invest and who is interested for these things by so I think new people, yes.
That is generally the millennials or Gen Zs. And then
Yes.
the alternative, the older people, the idea is generally the older people, one of the only values to us old people is we have the money. And so if you want somebody to invest in something, if you want somebody to have a big purchase order, then you would go to the older people. But if you're just selling regular products, regular clothes, regular trends, whatever it is, the end customer is usually the millennials or Gen Zs. Make sure you're aware of those details. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, Golkano, you wanted to develop your taxi business, correct? In your taxi business, you're going to be probably targeting the younger girls in Uzbekistan and younger girls that want to try something new. That would probably be the millennials or the Gen Zs. If you target most of your marketing towards them, it would be more effective. Does that make sense, Gulkano?
Yes.
Okay, but why would you have some custom marketing towards an older person like me?
I don't understand the question.
When you're doing most of your marketing, you should do most of your marketing towards the millennials and Gen Zs. They will be most of your popular end customers. You have a new service that you're going to be trying to get new people using it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But there can be a time where you can have a custom marketing program, a targeted program where you just target people that are not Gen Z and they're not millennials. They're somebody like the baby boomer, like me, are the older people. Why could you target just the older people?
I just want to explain, as a taxi business, my target market is not the millennials and Gen Z only, the older peoples, mostly the Muslim women and children only.
Right, but usually older people are not going to, usually people don't change. Usually people don't try new things. Usually if people get into a habit of transportation in the regular way, they don't usually change. No matter who you are, once you develop your habits as a teenager, you don't usually change. That's why we're describing millennials are this style, Gen Z are this style, the baby boomers are a different style. And since you have a new idea and a new service, you would be targeting somebody that may try something new. And so the people that are most open are the millennials, and they are, for example, as it says here, the Gen Zs, they are pro-social responsibility. And so they would be more interested in adopting something like this, just the Gen Zs naturally. So if your normal marketing is for them, you would be more successful. But why would you have one special, one unique, one temporary marketing campaign for somebody old like me? If you are marketing, for example, a big company executive and get that big company executive to allow his company to give any of the women in his company free taxi service with you. Understand? So one company pays for all of the transportation for you, and you have thousands of prepaid taxi services. And any lady in his employment can use your service. That would be targeted not to a Gen Z, not to a millennial person, but to a baby boomer, an old guy maybe running this company. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you should have targeted marketing campaigns. That's what we're generally talking about. The Gen Zs, generally they prefer to stay at home. So maybe you don't do too much advertising in a certain way. We've talked about several of these things, and in our presentation, we had Greg, but I don't think Greg is here today, right? And Zarnigar, you actually presented a little bit about this. Can you refresh our memory what you were saying about these millennials and Gen Zs, Zarnigar?
Yeah, what exactly you want me to talk about?
Would you be able to summarize what you have found is unique about millennials and Gen Zs?
What I really found unique about millennials and Gen Z that they could work together. like the collaboration between millennials and Gen Z is, let's say, really high. Like they can work in the same atmosphere together. Um, both of the Gen's generation are kind of, let's say, not prepared for like the easy startup businesses because they don't have financial stability, and they usually finish their universities with university loans. But what I really love that they focus on training on technology, and they also focus on working life balance. These things I found really unique about millennials and Gen Z.
They're more interested in the work-life balance. That's what you were saying.
Yeah, and they also focus on in always developing their working life with technology.
No matter what they're working with, they want to work with
Yes.
something with the technology.
Yes.
Okay. I've done some work, like last year, many of the students, they were working together on these same types of projects, specifically together with Samsung executives. And Samsung executives jumped on what you were saying. They were saying, well, what is work-life balance? How can a young person that has no experience and wants to get a job, how can they effectively do work for a company and have work-life balance? So some of these things that they're asking for, make sure people understand how they're identified. Does that make sense? What about Jacob here? Could you comment on that? The idea of many millennials and Gen Zs are looking for the work-life balance, as Gulkano was just saying. But when they're saying they want a work-life balance, what does that mean? What does it mean from a millennial or Gen Z? And what is it going to be viewed at? Whatever you're going to do, whatever you're going to say, what is the employer going to hear and what do they understand? Samsung heard this last year and they kind of laughed. Do you have some comments? Ulugh?
Yes, Professor.
Can you comment on that? Like, what does the work-life balance mean to a millennial or a Gen Z, and what is it going to be meaning to an employer like Samsung? What does work-life
Management.
Sorry, you're saying you're not good with time management? Oh, okay. What does it mean in your mind? What is work and your life activities and hobbies when they are balanced? What does that mean? Can you draw me a picture? Can you explain that to me? Or Arthur, can you help explain what that means?
What means time balance? Balance between life and work. Sorry.
Yes.
I think it depends on people, but I think the great balance is having enough time to have hobbies and other things, and also working enough to have this money to do the things we want to do. So I think it's more or less like 50-50.
Okay, and you see this basic that many people forget. The basic, you have 168 hours per week. Everybody has that many hours per week. And in general, anywhere in the world, there's about 30 to 40 hours you spend working or studying. And then if you're sleeping lots, that's 56 hours sleeping. That means you have twice as much time, free time. 72 hours remain. And so you could do a lot with your free time. So work-life balance, in your life, you have 72 hours of free time. And some people are saying what you just said, you should have 50% of your time at work. That actually is more than this, and 50% of your time doing free time. Most companies, especially Samsung, they ask new employees to work much more than 40 hours. Usually at Samsung, for example, you are supposed to arrive long time before your boss, and you're supposed to work all the time your boss is there, and then your boss arrives early and stays late, because that's the Samsung culture. And then after he stays late, after he goes home, then you stay longer, and then you go home afterwards. So usually young employees in Samsung or in finance, Laura, I hope you're listening closely, and Julie or Eloise, whoever was interested in the finance, usually finance companies and consulting companies, they usually have to keep their jobs, to be appreciated by management. You arrive before your manager, you stay there longer, and leave after your manager. So you put in a lot more than 40 hours. And so the idea of work-life balance usually has a problem, because young people, for the best companies, usually have no free time. They're working almost all the time. That's why. And the other thing that the Gen Zs and the millennials are asking for is they want to do work with meaning. And working with meaning is a different thing. So doing something that you love, if you love what you're doing, then your hobby will be doing it, and it will be seen as work. That's a good thing. You can stay at work because you like it. That is one of the most important things that you should be aware of, but make sure you identify that doing what you love, or the work with meaning, is different than just a completely different hobby. Can somebody help explain what might be an example of that? Zarnigar, could you give an example of somebody that would spend all of their time, their free time, staying at the company because they love it, and they find that's part of their making a contribution? They feel that's making a contribution. Can you come up with an example of that?
I don't know a person that stays that long in a company, but I have a lot of friends that owns a business, like their own business, that they usually spend most of their time doing it, doing their business.
Okay, if you're doing your own business, that you feel your business is making a difference to the world, like Golcano, you are making a new transportation company that's going to save the lives of hundreds or thousands of women. Yes, that could make a difference. You could feel that's very, very important. So you could spend hundreds of hours all the time working on your company nonstop. That type of thing would be good, whether it's your own business or you just love that idea. You can find some employees that like to do that, and they would stay and continue working with you just because they like it. That would be a good thing to do. Make sure when you're interviewing, make sure when you are going for an interview, you try to describe that interview in those words. When you're talking about your job in that way, the employer will be much, much more interested in you. The idea of having a 100% grade point average, not important. The idea of being on the honor roll, not important. The idea of you love that idea of doing what the company's doing for some personal reason, that is hugely important. Try to align that with your job interview. Eloise, what did you say your future is going to be? What is your interest?
My future?
Yes.
I think I'm interested about money, like a lot of people. No, I think find a good job for me, and I think yeah, do the.
what is a good job? I think I didn't hear you at the beginning. You were talking about you just want a job with lots of money. Okay.
No, it's a job with money, yes, but with time for do something else for my family or my friends, because in my life I want not do every time work. I want see my family, see my friend, see a lot of things, but not every time work.
So you want a job where you're paid for not working very often. Those are usually dangerous jobs. For example, underwater welding metal underwater. Many of those people die, so they're paid a lot of money and they only have to work a very short amount of time, and they get a long paycheck, a big salary the whole year. Or
I'm
a
thinking
professor,
about that. Mm-hmm.
or teachers.
Professor? Yeah, teacher. Yeah, okay.
Teachers
I'm thinking about that too.
Okay, so that idea of making sure when you're going for those interviews, you align those things with you. That idea of people interviewing millennials, that idea of people interviewing the Gen Zs or the millennials, they're usually looking for specific things. Talk about how you are interested in those, and they usually make a difference with the job interviews. The idea of Gen Zs all day eating habits is another thing. Many things are studied about the Gen Zs, millennials and Gen Zs. They're the online generation. This idea of the reasons for using social networks by the generations. A lot of people are interested in just sharing pictures or updates. The idea of hanging out and chatting with friends, getting inspired, getting news conveniently. Don't forget, when you're talking about the generation of news conveniently, you guys are probably, many of you, starting to try to get internships and you're trying to get jobs now. Don't forget that your resume is just one aspect. That is the old school. The new school, you will take a look at the resume, but you will also inspect somebody's social media. If you can't see somebody's social media, what do you think? Jacob here, if you find Paula is another person, but she's always working with Facebook, she's always working with Instagram, she's always working with TikTok, but all of that information is restricted and it's not public. What do you think of Paula? Jacob here, did you hear that?
Professor, yeah. Did you mean Paula? I didn't
Just
understand.
an unknown person, some stranger. If you meet a stranger and everything about her social media is secret, what do you think of that person? What do you think of a stranger that's very active in social media, but it's all secret? You can't see anything. Do you feel okay about that person, or do you feel that person might be a little bit strange?
Yeah, I feel strange. I will have doubt. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody in class that perfectly accepts somebody that has complete secrecy online? No comments?
I think he is.
So,
for my opinion, if I meet the guy or the girl and I see what she do, or I don't know, like the study or the experience she got or he got,
so you
I take it in for my restaurant, and after on all the social networks she posts nothing. She just there like me to see.
No, I'm not saying she doesn't do anything. I'm saying you see somebody like me and they have their cell phone and they're always posting something in their network. They're always very active in social media, but they don't let you see it. It's always secret. How do you feel when you know she's really, really active, but she doesn't let you see it?
We don't care.
Okay, do you
No,
think,
I think it's if you don't want to show for you, you don't see. Yeah,
okay,
but
the idea why I'm talking about this is not whether it's good or bad. I'm talking about the reality of companies, employers.
yeah,
If you do want to work for it, the company usually will check you in social media. If you talk about how you hate this company, F you company, and swear about the company and spray paint the
but everyone
company.
can do in private, you know. So if you don't show it, you don't never be like the a bad guy if if you swear on your company because you don't like when people inside and just talk in private with your woman or with your friends outside the company. You are free. So yeah.
Right, you can. What you're talking about is reasonable. That's good.
Yeah,
What I'm
it's
saying
too
is,
much. Sure, it's complicated. We saw that in course in France for the law, and it's very complicated to define if like it's wrong or not. It's very complicated to decide the yeah. I don't find my word in English. Complicated tonight.
okay, the idea that some people can use social media and they can keep some things secret, that is okay. That's reasonable. And that is no problem. But what I'm saying is, when you apply to work for a company, for example, if you want to work for Samsung, if you want to work for Hyundai, if you want to work for any company, that hiring manager will require you have to give your resume, you have to give your CV. It's very good if your CV says you published a lot, that's fine. But in addition to checking your resume, they usually also will check your social media. If your social media shows you have 1 million followers, but it's all secret, they will feel that's strange. They will think, as your classmate said, something is strange about you. If you are active and you have regular nice things, regular jokes, regular pictures shared with many people, that is something that the company will like, and they will probably hire you. They will feel good about it. But if everything is secret, or if you are blocking a lot of things so people can't see anything you're talking about, they will feel strange. That's a problem. A completely different problem is if you have nothing on social media. If you are not active in social media, the company will think you are strange. You don't have friends. You don't communicate. You can't help grow and promote the company. So they will feel bad about hiring you. That's another problem. So my point is, make sure you understand when you're going to these jobs, the idea of how you get news is important, but also how companies are getting news is also important. So you need to use the social media, you need to use the Facebook, the TikTok, the Twitter, whatever, in an open way.